TV, twitch.tv/BaseTradeTV, putting on so many events. This one, we've made it down to the top 8. And in the top left, we have the Towel Terran from Psystorm Gaming. One of my personal favorite Terran players and players in general. It's Gumiho from South Korea. And in the bottom right, the Italian Breakout. He is Italian, right? I'm like 95% sure. Only 15... I'm looking this up right now, just so I don't, because I haven't watched him in a bit. But playing since the age of 11. Could not compete in WCS because he was literally too young with an age limit of 16. 15 years old, the Italian Zerg, Reynor. But he's turning 16 soon because we care about that. We're 16 years old to be young again. Now, here's something to make you feel old. He was born in 2002. He was born 4 years after StarCraft 1 came out. It's ridiculous. Anyways, so, Terran vs. Zerg, Acid Plant. This is pretty far into the series, actually. I believe, but this is just a highlight game someone pointed out to me. Alright, Gumiho is scouting out. He's adding on a Reaper. This scout, so he's going to come up, take a look, the hatch is finished, and go back. All he's looking for is whether the Reaper needs to stay at home, because he doesn't want to get his command center delayed. Is the music ridiculously loud? Why is it 50%? Okay. Reynor on the other side. Looks like he's going to be going for the hatch, well, hatch gas pool to an extent. Going to have access to Zergling speed. Can go out for a third base. Nothing points towards any sort of aggression on either side. Gumiho scouts. Does he actually go all the way up? No. Just gets a bead on if the drones are coming down, things like that. And yes. Oh, I like this play. This is something, there's a whole meta around the first Reaper getting a third base, the first Zerglings. The SCV comes in to try to block a third while the Reaper goes to the front. The SCV trying to make sure the Reaper can actually micro against the Zerglings while he blocks a third base. Reynor goes over to the right side with his drone, but the Reaper's able to catch it just in time, so he will be delaying the third. But this should open up the opportunity for Reynor to expand to the other side. Gumiho has shut down one potential expansion location, but he can't cover them all. So that little mini-game of Reaper versus Ling versus Drone versus SCV has played out. Will he actually pick up the drone kill? He pops the Queens away with the grenade and gets a drone kill. He knows the other base has been taken. He understands that. And just as the Zerglings are getting across before their Ling speed, the Hellions show up. He's going to go for one of these SCVs. Not going to happen. The other Ling's got to run away before their metabolic boost finishes. A Viking on the way. This looks like the classic, does he start Stim? With Stim, this means it's going to be a bio follow-up timing. There's still a slight potential for mech here, but it's very likely to be the bio. Of the players, well, there's Stim, but of the players in StarCraft today, in Terran vs. Zerg, everybody dabbles in mech. You'll see the 2 factory timings. You'll see a transition into maybe a Thor drop. But Gumiho, probably the most prolific player who regularly goes mech. I'd say almost half the time we see him go that direction. Maybe he's changed it up a little bit lately. The Viking gets the scout. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa! He did! Okay, wait. I actually want to go back. Ruin the immersion, but... He kills the Overlord. He's already shown... This is the vision of Reynor. He sees the stim upgrade. Now, he can't see the icon, obviously, but he knows the tech lab is upgrading. Will he be fooled by this? Is the question. But immediately, Gumiho, after the death cam comes out, switches up the starport onto the tech lab and starts... Wait, a medevac? And cloak. So he's going to go for a medevac Hellion drop. Oh, this is mech. Gumiho, he knows. He doesn't want to give him the tell early, because if you know it's mech from the very start, it can become pretty easy to get your basic defense. You don't have to be worried about stim marine drops and things like that. You can get a comfortable economy as long as you figure out what their attack timings are. But Gumiho on the other side, opening up the opportunity for a Hellion drop and Hellbats, as well as Cloaked Banshees behind. Now with this, will there be Spore Crawlers? Maybe, but he can easily pull the Queens out of position with a Metavag drop. He's going to bring the Queens back. The Banshee can come up, and he shouldn't be losing it right off the... why is there a Viking? Okay, well, there's a Viking on the ground. Gumiho coming in just to maybe try to do some damage. He's racked up 2 kills on the Viking. The wall will be created. 2 more Hellions should come out in time. I don't think he's getting through this. Hellions on the left, drop on the right. Banshee in production. Not too much creep spread out yet. The Hellions are going by. He's just going to roast. This is opening up the main. And remember, the Viking killed the Overlords. Gumiho, you got to bring the Metavac in. But he's killed 5 so far. The Metavac coming into the main. He's drawn all the Lings over to this right side. That means there's next to no protection. A single Queen in the main. That's nothing. 6 more drones. Well, 6 drones total. Make that 8. He is sacrificing the Hellions. Chaining him then into Hellbats, which can then be healed by the Metavac. Why that happens, don't ask me why. It's not important. But the Roaches are not here. The Zerglings going across the map. 11 workers have gone down thus far. The Banshee just as capable on defense as offense. Roaches, unfortunately, cannot shoot up. Oh, retargets the healing, does Gumiho. He's roasting through. The Hellbat's doing a lot of damage. Reynor wanted to go to the other side, but Gumiho already prepared for this. He is going back with 2 more factories on the way. A 3rd command center. The total damage, despite losing all of that, and the amount of time these Hellbats have bought, Reynor is still at 60 drones. He's got +1 in speed on the way. There's another round of Banshees and Hellions. How many Queens are left? Now, the real damage was in the Queen count. In killing and hurt... Well, how many Queens? He killed 2 Queens. Others are softened up. All the energy is gone. The 2 Banshees are a real serious threat here. He throws the Roaches to the other side of the map because he has to do something to keep those Banshees away from his mineral lines. More Hellbats are coming through. Gumiho with this battle mech style. He pioneered this. He is the player you think of when it comes to this just aggressive, constantly pressuring mech. We're not sitting back building siege tanks, ranged liberators, ravens. You're up in your opponent's face. I would say up in their grill, but that's kind of turned around when the Hellbats come into play. Gumiho adding on Cyclones now. Another unit that, if you just sit back and do very little, it's not a defensive unit. It doesn't get better over time. Once they have enough Roaches and Ravagers and all that, the Cyclone loses a lot of value. But in smaller engagements and scrappier fights of lower supply, the Cyclone is very effective, especially against small groups of Roaches. But Reynor has snuck a handful of Roaches out. The Cyclone's also for defense as well against these small groups. Looks like he will be able to get a cancel on the 4th base. Reynor's 4th will come up. The creep spread's still pretty lacking. You can tell how much pressure has been put on. Usually the creep would be almost halfway across the map if left untouched. The Roaches on the left side as well. There's no siege tanks as of yet, so that's making it difficult for him to defend all these locations. But Banshee's doing a good job on the right. The generic unit's doing a solid job on the left. 69 to 69 workers. Aspire. And this is a little bit of a sign of desperation here. I mean, Aspire transition can almost always be good against a mech player, but Gumiho right now is at a comfortable economy. This is kind of banking on Gumiho being so single-minded in his anti-ground units, in Banshees and tanks and all that he doesn't make any Thors, he doesn't make any turrets. There is a single turret on the way. Looks like he's starting to acknowledge this as a threat, especially because there's not continued attacks. If more Roaches were coming across the map, maybe he wouldn't be building those turrets. He doesn't have any vision of the Spire, but he's got a Thor on the way, more Cyclones. Gumiho kind of covering his bases. 154 to 134 supply. In favor of a mech Terran. That's not a good sign. No blue flame, but he does have +1. The Evo Chamber Hydrodon setup actually helps shut down these Hellion run-bys. The Muta's flying in. A single turret at the front. He can just take that down. The SCV is not repairing. More creep spread shut down. The Mutas have to do a lot of work here. Cyclone Lockout only tickles the Mutalist. They can't... I don't even think they can kill one. I'm not sure exactly the number. The Viking taken down. All the units are retreating, besides 3 Banshees on the opposite side. Where is the Thor? Thors are finishing in the main. They're not here yet. He's chasing down some of the clones. The Roaches can take any turrets, and the tanks are unsieged as well. A nice hit coming out here. At the same time, the Banshee's going for the 4th base. The Spore Crawler will be able to burrow. The Queen going to work. Both players going to be taking pretty big economic hits. Tanks being targeted down. The Muta's not even caring about the turrets. The SCV is not on repair. There's so much going on. A double drop on the other side. The Cyclones might be able to finish off what the Banshees could not. He was so busy worrying about what was happening at his 3rd. Gumiho plummeting in supply. He's down to 125, but the Cyclones finish off the hatch and 10 drones. 15 SCVs have gone down for Gumiho. The Thors have completed. +2 attack is done on either side. The 4th base will lift. It was actually an orbital, not a planetary. Reynor continues to rally Roaches across, but he's been hamstrung by the fact his 4th base is gone, and of course his economy not just perfect at the moment. You'd be looking more at like 80 SCVs, better upgrades, but it's been a very scrappy game thus far. There still is, well, there are no Mutas left on the field. There's nothing to stop this quad Cyclone drop, but he might consider turning around. With this many Roaches knocking on his front door, he hasn't really decided yet. There are no tanks on the ground, just single target damage, but a lot of it with the +2. The boys are pulled. The Cyclone's on the back line. Is there enough in the front of this mecha army in order to hold the line? The Cyclones are shredding the Roaches. The Tornado Blasters ripping out so much damage. A few Hellions trying to tank on this side. 19 more SCVs will fall, but Reynor loses most of his Roaches, and now Gumiho has 66 against 56 army supply coming across the map. Now he has to counterattack. Reynor is double expanding. This army, it's not great as time goes on, but right now, with that Roach count lowered so much, he traded for economy here. That means Reynor needs to buy a little bit more time. This base is gone. He can't hold that. He might try, but he cannot. A few free Hellions will help, but the Roaches coming in, trying to flank the Cyclones. So much damage to those Roaches, it's ridiculous. But more Roaches at the front. Hellbats being healed by the Medivacs above. Reynor now even on supply, and remember, he has 20 more workers. Another base gonna fall. The 4th base is back online. Does he have the injects in order to battle this? More Roaches and Ravagers. Neither player wants to be building... Like, you do not want to be building Cyclones or Roach Ravager as you get further into a game. You want Hive Tech. You want more tanks on either side. Liberators, Ravens, but neither can really get to that point where they have the Death Ball. They have to fight with what they have. The economies have been hit. We've seen 45 workers killed by Reynor and 25 by Gumiho, and neither is really able to get to that top level of tech or near maxing out. Hellions on the left side. This attack strong on the right, but is there enough? Yes, the clumping up is dangerous indeed. Oh, Blue Flame Hellions getting into the mineral line. 7 drones roasted already. He's not microing this perfectly. He saw the drones running. He could go chase them down, but he gets out with most of his Hellions. Reynor now up against the wall. The tanks actually pull back. He didn't want to risk losing this. He knows... Here's the thing. Gumiho, he just did economic damage. He knows units will be pulled to the left side. Why risk losing the main bulk of your army? Why risk losing your siege tanks if you've already gotten your objective, which was to do some damage? He knows he's not going to kill Reynor with the army he has right now. He has to wait for a little bit more, his upgrades to finish, some Liberators to join up. So great decision-making by Gumiho, and now Reynor left in kind of an awkward spot without a hive done yet. The creeps, just the amount of... It's not a... there's been so much pressure from Gumiho, the creep spread just can't get anywhere. A great scout there. He sees the hive, and he sees that a Greater Spire has not started yet. But he knows Vipers are a threat. Gumiho already with Vikings in production. Looks like the Liberators were scouted by the Roaches. They were looking for an opportunity to do more damage to drones. Both players under 70 workers, so we're not at an end-game scenario, late-game scenario. We're still solidly at that mid-tier tech. Once the Vipers start coming out, the Liberator count, and probably Ravens eventually, that's when we're at the late game. but we're still pretty far off. Double sensor tower, Gumiho covering all his bases, literally. We gotta slow down now. Both players have reached kind of a critical mass where you have to commit most of your army to a fight. The Greater Spire gives Reynor options. He doesn't have a bank. He needs to try to find a fight with Vipers, ideally. Otherwise, the mech army just going to become too powerful. Smart Servo's not done. He can't quite change into Hellbats yet. The Roach Ravager moving out. There are the Vipers. They don't have 2 Blinding Clouds as of yet. The spell-casting choices are very important here. More Hellions coming in. Gumiho ever on top of the harass. Ooh. Those Blue Flame Hellions with +3 attack, 2-shotting drones. But both players maxed out. The question is, does Reynor actually want to do an attack against a solidly 4-base Gumiho? He's maxed out. He's got sensor towers. He's got +3. How do you actually attack? Vipers are the way you can attack it, but it's so costly. And Reynor doesn't have a huge economy. He's not banking. Gumiho has a larger bank. So it's a really tough call, because roaches are not great to have in general. Like, he wants to find a way to get rid of his roaches and switch towards later game tech, whether that's Broodlords, more Vipers, but he can't just throw away his army because then he's so vulnerable to counterattack. God, they do so... Oh my... Get over here. Lifts him up. Knocks him down. But that means the Vipers do have to recharge. Did that open up the opportunity to come across? Reynor has to try to engage. He has to force these tanks to siege up. He sees where the Vipers are. Reynor being pushed back. +3 tanks, so punishing. Can he hold on to this base? Gumiho has 10 tanks, most of them with this army. Well, here he comes. Ravagers on the right side. Thor's pulled into the fray. A Blinding Cloud on some of it. Or a Parasitic Bomb, rather. The army is pretty well spread. +2 Carapace has finished. There's not much in front of these tanks. A couple more Corrosive Biles at the front. It looks like Reynor didn't have the high ground vision at the end. Gumiho continues to push through. Very close to breaking this. But if he's allowed to... If Gumiho gets another round of units here, it's all over. Beautiful Blinding Cloud at the last possible second. 2 more tanks were coming up. Reynor will break out. He'll hold on to his base at a heavy cost. But he takes out this army. A lot of the tanks with it. That Blinding Cloud could not have been any later. If those extra tanks had sieged up, this would have become so difficult to break out of. Liberator targeted down, 3 more tanks, but he's on top of them. Reynor closing the distance. Gumiho may have stepped a little too far. 120 to 130 supply. Continues to work his way through. Another tank targeted down. Vikings hit the deck, a sign of desperation. 14 more SCVs as well. The Thor will fall. Hellbats coming up, but the Roach is easily able to deal with them. Vikings not great ground fighting units, despite whatever cinematics may tell you. But still, there's a planetary. There are still tanks on the field. This orbital will fall, but Gumiho has an... Oh my god, the Mule Hammer. Just... Oh, Jesus. The income. Watch the minerals. Gumiho gonna even that out a little bit. Oh my. Oh my. So he still has pretty solid. Two Thors will dunk down. Hellion's still trying to get some damage done. Only 61 drones. The thing is, Reynor, while he took a good fight, Roach Hydra is just not an army that can easily finish the game. Without Broodlords, without, well, mostly Broodlords. Ooh. He's struggling to find an angle. He can get some more pulls, gets a tank, gets a couple Thors. That third one not quite on target. Good trades here, gets a medevac. Not sure that's what he was aiming for. Gotta be careful, he's got one more. There it is. Gumiho bleeding out. And a Liberator as well. Gumiho plummeting to 100 supply. Reynor is literally picking him apart, throwing the harpoons. $51 to 61 workers. It's still not... Gumiho is not out of it yet, but it's getting more and more difficult as Reynor now has 5 bases comfortably. He's going for the gold. Is that a Hellbad drop? It is. He can't afford anything else to be sent out. Oh, 16 drones here. Does Reynor actually see this? Gumiho gonna drop out. Or... That could have been juicy. 3 more SCVs go down. (3-2) upgrades to 3-1. Advanced ballistics on the way, but he's a long way off having that position. Reynor now. He's got 4 Vipers. Most of them, well, they're about to have full energy. The Corrosive Bile's knocking SCVs away. The gold base will go unchallenged, even though Gumiho has scouted it. He's just, it looks like he's just waiting out the advanced ballistics in order to outrange things like Abduct. But Reynor is maxed out. It's time to go. He's finally got creep spread across the map, even if it's only a little bit of it. He's going to swing around to the right side. Gumiho had to have seen this. It was within sensor tower range. He's really struggling right now to be able to put enough units on the field. Advanced ballistics not done yet. 4 Vipers are very scary. He's only got 5 Vikings that can't even one-shot a single Viper. 1 pole, the Liberator trying to escape. Not today. Another tank going down as well. Gumiho only has 4 tanks on the field. Reynor probing for weakness. All it's going to take is 1 crack in the defenses, and Reynor can break through. He's got, well, his economy isn't great, but he's got a bank. He's got 32 larvae banked up here, too. There's no direct counter to the Vipers. Gumiho still has a very scary army. It is very possible that Reynor could, if he doesn't hit those Viper Abducts, those Blinding Clouds, Gumiho's army will melt him. It'll obliterate him coming down this ramp. It's still a technical fight, but Reynor now has the gold mining as well. Gumiho, where does he expand next? He can't find an army. His army can defend, but it can't move out. Parasitic Bomb could be very strong. He's actually abducting Vikings. A Parasitic Bomb is used. He throws it to the ground. That will dodge it, but he has to wait it out. He needs some repair. He'll walk into the mineral line. It looks like Reynor just sharking around, waiting for Gumiho to make a mistake. Oh god, the Liberators. I mean, he's I think, correctly realizing he needs to get somewhere with this. He needs to create some sort of space. And the Freedom Zones... How many Vipers? 7 Vipers on the field. He's got to be careful not to consume his entire hatchery. Gumiho's kind of struggling close to a max out. He's lifting his main to his partially mined 4th. Reynor's splitting off his... He doesn't want these roaches anymore. He wants to trade them out for whatever he can get, which might be more roaches, but any value gained here. Oh my god, so many Hellions! Jesus, he roasts them in a... Reynor at 42 drones. The roach is going to come to the right side. This could get pretty intense here very quickly, depending on the positioning. There's a lot of weird units in weird places. Like, the Liberators can't be hit here. Why was that Thor there? The world may never know. The Viper's coming in. He could have ducked, but the Hellion's actually a pretty good counter to these Hydras. What a weird scenario. The Parasitic Bomb. Oh, the Vipers are going to go down. The Parasitic Bomb is not nearly enough. A barbecue in the middle of the map, but still so many of Gumiho's units going down as well, including Vikings on the deck. Suddenly, both armies decimated. Still a lot of roaches coming in. He's bringing the hammer down. He's got one more card to play, but he doesn't want to play it against a planetary fortress. This is Gumiho's chance to maybe do some damage with 24 Hydras and 18 roaches in production. The Remax is coming out. Gumiho desperate to do damage. But Reynor, he may have lost his army, but he's got another one where that came from. GG. Reynor takes it. The production too much. What a... 192 roaches falling. 13 Vipers, but he had enough to hold on. That was, oh, Okay, thank you. Very helpful. How do we get the graphs? Where's my graph? Oh, that. Okay. But pretty sick game from Reynor and Gumiho. That was from the People Images playoffs, hosted by Base Trade TV. The finals will be coming up soon, I assume. So, hope you guys enjoyed the cast. I could just throw some more games up there and yell at them, which is kind of what I do. Thank you, Canadian Nightmare 5, for that sub as well.
Every song.